Let's get ready to step in style. Come along as I teach you how I blinged out these amazingly sparkly pink Converse. Here are the rhinestones that I used: Rosey Glass rhinestones, Krystal Glaze glue. I used Krystal AB rhinestones for the toes of the shoe. And you're going to be ready to bling out your first pair if you have never done so already. We're going to use the sanding block to go ahead and roughen up the surface, get rid of that shiny film. This will ensure that our rhinestones have a good hold, and we're going to wipe it off, let it dry first, let the alcohol dry, and then we can start applying the rhinestones. I did use a sanding block, but sandpaper or a nail file drill gun type of thing, that will be even better. So we're going to apply our Krystal Glaze glue here, just a straight line across. For the toe, I'm using size SS16 glass rhinestones. And if you've watched our previous videos, I've taught on several methods or patterns that we can use when applying our rhinestones. Here I am going to be doing the honeycomb method, and you'll also get to see what happens when we have gaps and how to fill those in. So to start off, we're going to do a line at the top, and then we're going to outline around the toe of the shoe as well. We're kind of making a smiley face, a mouth shape. And as you can see, we are just placing the rhinestones in between one another, just like a honeycomb. And of course, you can apply these rhinestones however you may like. We could use a linear pattern, we could use a scatter fill method. We can use multiple sizes. If you wanted to, you could use size SS20 instead of the SS16 that I'm using. If you're really brave and want to do SS12, that's acceptable as well. As you can see, I'm starting to have rhinestones not fit in certain spaces. So as you can see, I tried to put a rhinestone there to the left, but it didn't fit. So I'm going to just skip that and move on to the next space where the rhinestone goes. After I have completed filling in these rhinestones using the honeycomb method, I'm going to go back in and use smaller rhinestones to fill in those gaps. I was not at the warehouse when I did this, and I only had size SS6 hot fix rhinestones. Lots of people are confused about whether you can use hot fix rhinestones and just apply glue on the back. Yes, most definitely you can. So I'm filling in those gaps with hot fix rhinestones size SS6. And would you look at that? So sparkly, shiny, fancy, and cool. And I always like to show how many rhinestones I had left over. There are approximately 1,440 pieces per pack, and that's how many I had left over. Now on to the base of the shoe. I love these rhinestones, Rosey, and I'm using size SS20 to apply these to my Converse. We're going to start our foundation line as you see me doing here. Just kind of like people who color. I've never been a great colorist. I never was good coloring in school, but it did help me when I used to outline my pictures first. So that's the same thing that I do when I'm applying rhinestones. We're going to do an outline, and then we're going to go back and fill in the shoe. Keep watching. Now that I have done the bottom, we're going to go right along here as well and make an outline. As you can see, that's how it should look. And now we're going to continue with the honeycomb pattern. And so we're gonna make a second row, and just like I showed you on the toe of the shoe, when you get to spaces where you cannot fit the stone, just skip it and we'll come back to it and fill in the gaps at the end. We're almost done with this section, and as you can see, those are the little spaces that I have left. Now, I'm a girl who likes to use as the least amount of stone sizes as possible, and I also try to encourage my customers to do the same. We don't want to be buying so many rhinestones for one project, so I try to stick with 2 sizes. So here I'm using SS20 and SS12. If I would have had SS6, it would have been even better, but there are ways around this. As you can see, I'm fitting SS12 in these spaces, but some spaces won't allow these SS12 stones to fit. So that's when I start shifting the stones just a little bit. And the great thing about Krystal Glaze is, yes, it dries in 3 to 5 minutes, but it does not come completely cured and tacky until about 28 to 48 hours. So as you're working, you'll still have a little time if you need to try to make the spaces as even as possible. We are not afraid of gaps. There's no way to avoid gaps altogether. That is why we try to use rhinestones that have the same color. Whatever we're working on, like the shoe is pink, we want to try to use pink rhinestones because the gaps in the spaces will not be as noticeable. So as you can see, I'm just kind of pushing and shifting those rhinestones around. Another option is to use little bitty rhinestones. So there's more than one way. If you're like a perfectionist and you're like, no, I don't want to see a gap, of course, you can use an even smaller rhinestone and perhaps 3 different sizes on this part so that you won't see any gaps at all. But this is how I like to do it. It saves me time and money, and I only have to worry about using 2 size rhinestones here. This is a size 10 shoe, and I only needed 1.5 packs of SS20 to complete both shoes. And we want to make sure that we're getting a good stick. So my fingers are behind there, and I'm making sure that I'm pressing those rhinestones into the fabric. They need something to stick to. So you want to make sure that you're pressing down firmly so that they're actually getting a good stick and hold. You will see shortly that I'm starting to apply rhinestone to the back of the shoe. Most people like to do the linear feel here, but I prefer scatter method, and the way it looks, I only had 2 sizes, so my scatter looked a little different. But here's the final look, and they are perfection. These are actually for me for a change. I hardly ever get to make something for myself, but I cannot wait to rock these and make them your own and come back and tag us with what you made. Keep shining.